You know, people love talking about doing the right thing. They really do. They put it in quotes. They post it under sunsets. They say things like, stand for justice, speak the truth, be brave. Beautiful words, very clean, very safe, especially when nobody has to lose anything. But let me ask you something. What if doing the right thing does not make you a hero? What if it makes you the one who gets hurt? What if justice does not arrive with music, applause, and a bright sunrise? What if it arrives quietly, with your hand inside the mouth of a monster? That is the part people do not like to talk about. Because courage sounds wonderful from a distance. From far away it looks noble, clean, almost romantic. But up close, courage has teeth. Justice has a price. And sometimes the person who steps forward does not come back whole. Maybe you have seen this before. In a family where everyone knows the truth, but only one person dares to say it. And suddenly, that person becomes too dramatic. In a workplace where everyone sees the corruption, but only one person refuses to smile and pretend. And somehow, he becomes difficult. In a friendship where everyone feels something is wrong, but one person finally says, "No, this is not right." And just like that, the honest one becomes the uncomfortable one. Funny, isn't it? Not funny like a joke. Funny like life has a cruel little habit of punishing the person who says what everyone else is thinking. That is where Tyr enters the story. Not with thunder, not with a glorious army, not with some shining speech about honor. No, Tyr enters with silence, with a choice, with a hand, and with a wolf. In the old Norse world, Tyr was known as a god of war and justice. But do not let that title fool you. This is not a story about a god who enjoyed violence. It is about a god who understood responsibility. And responsibility, well, responsibility is much heavier than a sword. There was a wolf named Fenrir, not just a wild animal, not just a beast from the dark. Fenrir was a warning with teeth. He grew larger, stronger, more dangerous. And the gods watched him with the kind of fear people hide behind polite faces. They smiled, they spoke gently, they acted calm. But inside, they were terrified, because they believed that one day Fenrir would bring destruction. So they did what frightened people often do. They made a plan. A very clever plan, and, of course, a very dishonest one. Gods are funny that way. They speak of order, they speak of destiny, they speak of what must be done. But when the price appears, they look around the room, hoping someone else will pay it. The gods decided to bind Fenrir, to chain him before he could become their ruin. But Fenrir was not stupid. He knew fear when he smelled it. He knew their kindness was too careful. Their smiles were too soft. Their voices were too sweet. And when someone suddenly becomes that sweet, be careful. They may be holding a chain behind their back. So Fenrir made one demand. He would let the gods bind him, only if one of them placed a hand inside his mouth. A guarantee, a promise, a living proof that this was not betrayal. And then, silence. The kind of silence that reveals people. Because everyone wanted the monster controlled. Everyone wanted the danger removed. Everyone wanted safety. But no one wanted to put their own hand in the wolf's mouth. No one, except Tyr. Tyr stepped forward, not because he was foolish, not because he did not understand the danger. He understood it perfectly. That is what makes the moment so heavy. He knew. He knew that if Fenrir was tricked, the wolf would bite. He knew the price. And still, he placed his hand inside the mouth of the beast. Now listen carefully. This is not just a story about losing a hand. That would be too small. This is a story about the person who pays the cost everyone else is willing to discuss, but not carry. It is about the one who does not run when the room becomes silent. It is about the one who understands that sometimes justice is not clean. Sometimes it leaves a mark. Sometimes it takes something from you. And the question is not whether Tyr was brave. Of course he was brave. The harder question is this: why was he the only one? Why did the God of justice have to pay for the fear of all the others? And maybe, if we are honest, that question is not only about Tyr. Maybe it is about us. Because every age has its Fenrir. A problem everyone sees. A danger everyone discusses. A truth everyone avoids. And every age waits for someone else, to put their hand in the wolf's mouth. So before we go any further, ask yourself this. When the moment comes to do the right thing, and the room becomes silent, will you step forward? So Tyr stepped forward, not with a speech, not with a sword, just with his hand, and Fenrir watched him. The wolf knew something was wrong, of course he did. When people become too calm, too polite, too soft, they are usually hiding something. The gods placed the chain around Fenrir, Gleipnir. It looked thin, almost harmless. But when Fenrir pulled, it did not break. He pulled harder, still nothing. And then he understood. This was not a test. This was a trap. Fenrir looked at the gods, then at Tyr. And in that moment, Tyr knew the price had arrived. He could have pulled back, he could have saved himself, he could have acted like the others and stayed at a safe distance. But he did not. Fenrir closed his jaws, and Tyr lost his hand. No applause, no glorious music, just pain. And that is what makes this story so uncomfortable. Tyr did not lose his hand because he was foolish. He lost it because he was the only one willing to stand close enough to the truth. Everyone wanted Fenrir chained. Everyone wanted safety. But only Tyr paid for it. And maybe that is why his story still matters, because even today, many people want justice, as long as someone else bleeds for it. Now this is where people usually make a mistake. They look at Tyr and say, he was brave. And yes, of course he was. But bravery is not the whole story. Tyr's story is not only about courage, it is about cost. Because everyone in that room wanted the same result. They all wanted Fenrir chained. They all wanted the danger gone. They all wanted to sleep better at night. Very understandable. People love safety. They love justice. They love truth, as long as the bill goes to someone else. And that is the uncomfortable part. The gods were not completely wrong to fear Fenrir. Maybe he really was dangerous. Maybe he really had to be stopped. But the question is not only, was the danger real? The question is, who paid for the solution? And the answer was Tyr. Not the loudest god, not the strongest god, not the one making the biggest plan. The one who stepped close enough to lose something. That is why Tyr still matters today, because we still live in rooms like that. Rooms where everyone knows something is wrong, but nobody wants to be the first to speak. Families where everyone avoids the truth. Workplaces where everyone sees the damage. Friendships where everyone feels the betrayal. Societies where everyone wants justice, but very few want the consequences. So people wait. They wait for someone else to say it, someone else to risk it, someone else to become uncomfortable, someone else to bleed. And when that person finally steps forward, people often call them difficult, too serious, too emotional, too stubborn. It is strange. The person who breaks the silence is often treated worse than the silence itself. But Tyr reminds us of something simple. Doing the right thing does not always make people love you. Sometimes it makes them look away. Sometimes it makes them uncomfortable. Sometimes it leaves you with a wound no one wants to talk about. But still, someone has to step forward. Because if everyone waits for someone else, the wolf remains free. Maybe Tyr's missing hand is not just a symbol of sacrifice. Maybe it is a warning that justice is easy to praise until it asks something from you. Truth is easy to admire until it puts you at risk. Courage is easy to respect until you are the one standing closest to the teeth. So before this story ends, do not ask only, would I have admired Tyr? That is easy. Ask the harder question. When everyone else is silent, when the truth is dangerous, when doing the right thing will cost you something, will you still step forward? Or will you wait for someone else to put their hand in the wolf's mouth?